Well, hello and welcome to a new video where we are going to take a look at the performance of Monster Hunter Wilds, the benchmark which has been newly released on the RTX 4050. And we're going to test this at 1080p with basically medium settings here, even though we're using some low settings where the VRAM is used quite a lot. And we're going to use the Nvidia DLSS quality mode and no ray tracing. And as you will see in a second, this actually is the Nvidia RTX 1080 generation, but that basically is the 4050 chip with the same VRAM capacity, with the same shader, everything, just a little bit different drivers. But performance-wise, they should behave pretty much identical, so you should see around the same performance. All right, and we're off to a good start, even though you have to take a look at our VRAM usage and you have to keep that in mind, because from what I've seen in the last benchmark runs that I've done, I actually saw quite substantial lag spikes in the later stages of this benchmark, and actually saw that the frames were dropping quite a bit and quite substantially as compared to the early scenes here, due to the fact that we ran out of VRAM. So this is the reason why I actually choose these settings with a little bit lower shadow settings and a little bit lower than medium ambient lighting, due to the fact that we simply cannot run these higher settings here if we are not wanting to run out of VRAM with this card. Because as soon as you run into this VRAM capacity limit, the card will basically be at 100% usage all the time, while only drawing around 30 to 20 watts and spilling over the VRAM to the system memory, and that will result in extremely unplayable FPS and in completely unplayable gameplay experience. But from what I'm seeing here, we are definitely having no problem with that right now. And I will also say we are not using frame generation here, so we're not generating any fake frames. So this is definitely the real performance which you can see of this card. Obviously, it's not 100% just the rasterization performance due to the fact that we are using DLSS as well, but we are not using frame generation to produce any frames in this benchmark right now. And yeah, it is definitely running a lot smoother than what I've seen with the last benchmark I've tested this game with, which was basically 1080p with high settings, and that was already a lot and way too much for this card obviously to handle. So yeah, that's the problem with you only having 6 gigabytes of video memory. You're gonna run out of it eventually, at least in 2025, and a lot of modern titles you're going to, and then you will not have a playable gameplay experience any longer. Even though, obviously, as you can see here, our rasterization performance is actually really good. So that's really annoying, due to the fact that obviously this card would be a perfectly fine gaming card even in the next years if VRAM didn't, if Nvidia didn't skim out on the memory on us here. So that actually makes this pretty much unusable for a lot of titles, and a lot of titles where you want to play with at least high settings, due to the fact that we simply cannot do that anymore. Because yeah, here with the medium settings, basically it is behaving around the RTX 5000 now, which I have in my Lenovo ThinkPad, and which was absolutely fine with running this game at 1080p with high settings and 1440p with ultra settings, due to the fact that it has 16 gigabytes of VRAM available to it, and therefore is able to handle even higher than what we're seeing here gameplay or gaming settings here, obviously. So yeah, kind of sad to see what Nvidia has done, so that their cards are definitely not as usable as they could be. But as long as you stick to these medium-ish settings and don't use your VRAM completely, it seems to me that you should be fine with your gaming. It's all interesting because this is obviously inside the Dell Precision 5690 laptop, and that means that we do have these Core Ultra 7165H as well as 64 gigabytes of system memory. And yeah, it seems to me that we are definitely seeing that both of these are doing a good job. So if you have 16 gigabytes of RAM, that should be at least the minimum which you want to play this on. I think 8 gigabytes is definitely not going to cut it any longer, but yeah, like 16 gigabytes definitely should be plenty fine for you. Even though I'm not entirely sure. I mean, obviously we are already, even though we're not exceeding the VRAM limit, we are very, very close to it. And as soon as we actually hit the limit, I've seen such immense drops in performance that I definitely would not recommend you try that. But yeah, I guess it is still a fine gameplay experience here. But yeah, that means maybe at least 24 gigabytes of system memory is actually what you want to aim for if you want to play this game with the 4050. But yeah, really nice to see that the FPS actually are really high and the performance is definitely good, and it shows you that it is absolutely able, these cards are absolutely able to run this game. But yeah, we are now actually running very close to the VRAM capacity of our card here. But I guess we're not exceeding it today, so unlike before, this seems to be very, very nice. So yeah, definitely a very good result here, and you obviously can play this game quite fine, and as long as you don't exceed the VRAM capacity of your 4050, you should be fine playing this game.